All right, welcome back to the channel. I'm Corey. We're gonna do something really cool today with regard to blues rhythm playing. And this is something I've been doing for a long, long time. I've been doing it on slow blues, swings, shuffles, and I played in a swing band a long time ago where we were doing a lot of that sort of kind of B flat 6 type of sound. We played a lot of horn keys, B flat, E flat, F, stuff like that. So that really helped me not only learn my 9s and my 6 chords, but it also got me jumping around the keys. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take an example right in the key of D, go to the 4 chord, and we're gonna use that move throughout a 12-bar blues. And the reason I stayed in the key of D is because I want to give you 2 versions and 2 spots to play it in. We'll do one up here, and then we'll do one in the lower octave. So we got some nice neck real estate here. Okay, so we're going to be working with 6 chords, 9th chords, and then even one of the choruses that you see me play here in a moment, I'm going to play a little single line part in quasi call and response. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so lots of great stuff for beginners and intermediate folks. And of course, tabs and tracks will be available in the links in the video description, and I'll put them in the comments as well. All right, enough of that. Let's hear the example, then let me teach you all of the things that I was doing. And you'll have a really good time incorporating these in your playing. All right, let's jam. All right, so let's jump into that stuff, talk a little bit about the chords, how we're going to approach it all, and how you can use it in your own playing. So we're in the key of D here, and again, I mentioned that we're going to be focusing on the key of D because it's going to give us some real estate on the guitar. We can play it in 2 different places. Whenever I learn a set of chords or even one chord, I try to find as many ways to play it on the guitar as possible. And in a blues progression, that usually means I got like a 5th and a 6th string root type of thing. There's always 2 ways that you can learn them to get the most bang for your buck, and that's what we're going to do here. So we'll first start with a D6 chord. And a 6 chord basically means you're going to take a D chord, and instead of adding a 5th to it, we're going to add a 6th. So we're going to have that triad, but what we're going to have is instead of the 5th degree of that chord, we're going to have the 6th. So here's your normal triad, your D shape here. That's D, F sharp, and A on the 12th, 11th, and 10th frets respectively, starting from the strings 4, 3, and 2. Now, oftentimes you'll see a shape like this, which would give you a D, an F sharp, and a C, which gives you that D7 sound. Now, D7 automatically sounds bluesy, okay? Immediately, we know that from playing blues and studying with me, hopefully, all these years. Now, when you take that note and you move it back a half step to a B, you're going to have a D, an F sharp, and a B, and then you can add a high D on the top string, 10th fret. Here's the regular triad. Here's the 6. And you hear the difference between the 6 and the 5 note. And you hear a lot of big band swing and some jazz and stuff use 6 chords. You'll hear that for sure in there. And that was the first time I was introduced to a 6 chord, was playing, you know, the song In the Mood. That kind of thing. So here's our D6. Now what we can do is we can get away with just playing 3 notes, D, F sharp, and B. Now why? I want to address this before we move on. The 5th degree, that A note there of a triad, the 5th, you can kind of kick it off the boat if you want to. You can leave him in the dust, add any altered sound to it that you desire. The 5th is very manipulated when it comes to its relationship to the chord. It's an awkward marriage that it has with your triad. But just wanted to leave that, put that in there for sure. That's why you see sharp 5s and flat 5s and all that kind of stuff in chords. Okay, but anyway, back to the 6th chord, a D, F sharp, B. That's all you need. If you want to add the top string, you can, but for our example, we don't need to. So that's the first chord you need to know. And what I'll do is, if you look and just kind of see how I'm playing that shape, you'll see it in the tab, how it relates to the D chord shape. There it is with the top note added. Take the top note away, just play those 3 notes. Okay, so I'll make sure you reference the video and the tab. They'll go together, because if you just saw those 3 notes on a chord chart, you might play them awkwardly, you know. So make sure it comes out of that shape. That's a full D6 shape, but we're not going to use this, okay? So now we also need a 9 chord in this area of the guitar. Now this is where it gets a little tricky, because we're going to play a D9 sound, but there's not going to be a D in the chord, okay? So this is now going to more of your intermediate type of playing. This is a very popular 9 chord shape for blues rhythm playing, so make sure you pay attention to this, okay? So again, this is a lesson where somebody might know that, somebody might not. We're peppering all this stuff in to appease a wide array of viewers, right? So if we just build the chord, it starts with an F sharp. That's the major third of our chord, and that's on the 9th fret, 5th string. Then the next note with our 3rd finger is our C. That gives us more of that dominant 7 sound. So we have F sharp, C on the 4th string, 10th fret. Then we have an E, and that's going to be the actual 9 of the D9 chord. So you play those together, you get a nice sort of jumble of sort of more bluesier, jazzier sounds. Then we have an A up top there. Now the A is the 5th, again, in this instance, and we're going to keep that note in that chord. Now, how do you find this chord on the fly since there's no D? That's a tricky, tricky part for sure. So what you're going to do is what I like to do is say, okay, here's a D on my 10th fret, 6th string. I find that, I go down and over, okay? And then that gives me the spot where I need to be, because the chord starts on the 3rd. In the tab, you'll probably see this say D9, no 3rd, or D9, no root, excuse me, okay? But you hear that all the time. So let's talk about this. Why is there a dominant 7 note with the 9? Well, once you get to a dominant 7 chord, that's like blues land, right? And then what you start doing is you start adding notes that are in the scale, but we start adding to that 7. We can add a 9, we can add an 11, we can add a 13. Any of those chords, particularly a 13 and a 9, have the dominant 7 at its core, okay? So make sure you're thinking of that. If it says D9, that means there's a dominant 7 note in that chord, but there's also a note making it the 9. And again, that would be the E note on the 3rd string, 9th fret, okay? And that's what's giving you the sound of the 9. F sharp, D, E, A. The 3rd, the flat 7, the 9, and the 5th. Now, If I play that root note on the bottom there, you can hear it really locks in. I have to do that. But here's the best way. And I always talk about this. This is great because the bass player is probably going. And there you have it. Now, the first move here is to go from D9 to D6. But this is a lot of moving parts. So what we do as a cool rhythm comp, as we call it, is we're going to ditch that F sharp, and we're just going to play these three notes, and lo and behold, that C, E, and A, when you move it up a whole step, turns into D, F sharp, and B, the notes we need for the sixth chord. I could have just started there, right? No, that's not how we do it here. We want to make sure you understand what in the world you're doing. So we're going to go any variety of that. But you're going to see my finger back here. Now what I do is I usually like to have some muting happening, so I'll leave this first finger up a little bit. It's touching the fifth string but not playing it, because moving that, if I make a mistake, it's going to sound terrible. So I want to just make sure it's kind of resting there. Okay, so we're going from the D9 to the D6, just using strings 4, 3, and 2, and we're not even changing the fingering. Now let's talk about sliding. Oh, allergies are getting to me. It's that time of year in Tennessee, for sure. So what I want you to do is play, then slide. But do it in one fell swoop. And this is a hard thing to get, especially for you early players out there. You just have to trust it, because you're going to go. You're not going to make it all the time. That's okay. That's how you learn, okay? It's like hitting the golf ball and doing what I do and making, you're hitting the tee in the ground way more than you're hitting the ball, right? That's why I gave up golf. But don't give up guitar. So play and go for it. See? Aggressively, just go at it, because that's going to give you the most tone and the best feel. Okay? So we went D9. Remember, we don't need that note. It's going to come off and rest, act as a mute, up a whole step, grabs the notes for the D6, and then back. Okay? Now, we need the next two chords, and it's going to be the same kind of thing, and maybe even slightly easier. All right? So if we take a we'll need a G9 for our blues progression. We have, this one's a little easier because we have a G in the bass there on the 5th string, 10th fret. Then we have a B note, that's its third. So right there, you have a nice major third sound. The third finger bars and grabs the F, and then it grabs an A, oddly enough, the same A that's been there the whole time. Now it acts as the 9 for the G9. Okay, these are flavors, these are ingredients. So what are we going to do? We're just going to take and play right up to the top string there. That top note is a D. That's legal. That's in our chord. But we're going to cheat. Or we're going to use this finger. And we're going to just play those three notes, okay? Then what we're going to do is slide up a whole step. This is cool. G, B, and E are our next notes, and those notes make up a G6 chord. So we're going 9, 6, 9, 6, 9 kind of a thing. 9, 6, 9, 6, 9. Then 6, 9, actually it's 6, 9, 6, 6, 9. That's right. Then it's going to go 6, 9, 6, 6, 9. And we'll start with a G6, 12th fret, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings. And those notes are G, B, and D. Make sure you consult the tab. Down a whole step implies the G9. You can use your first finger, Now, for the 5 chord in this blues progression, repeat the same thing that you did for the 4 chord. You can go from here, from the 12th fret. Why? I thought those were the notes in the 6th chord. Well, those are the same notes in an A9 chord. This is gonna unlock so many things, because what's going to happen is you're gonna start to see, wow, a lot of chords share the same notes. And that's why music sounds harmonious, because that happens. That's gonna happen here. Normally we'd go to an A9, but we're gonna take the top 3 strings, move up a whole step, we get A, C sharp, and F sharp. Those are the notes in our A6 chord. Sorry, I was getting excited there. I didn't want to get too fast. And that's the movement I was playing in the first repetition or chorus of the example that I played. Okay, so you got all that, right? We had D6, D9, D6, or G6, G9, A6, A9, back down, and so on. Then you saw me do this move. Well, what did I do? I just took what I did up here and I transposed it, because now here's a D6 on the 7th fret. That's going to be D from the 3rd string, F sharp, and B, and that gives us our 6th sound. Here, that would be a D9 chord. Same concept applies, except we're going to play it with this finger and give a C, E, and A. Those notes work for our D9. Now we go to the 4 chord, G. Bass player's doing that. We're going to go back to this shape, but we're only going to play those 3 strings, repeat the same movement, G6, G9, back to D6, D9, whatever fingering you like, A6, A9, you guessed it, up a whole step, down a whole step, and the D. So get your mileage and your money's worth out of these chord shapes. Okay, last thing. What I did was when the chorus came around again, the 12 bar came around, I just went, walked right down a D blues scale. I'm not a fan of calling it the blues scale, that's for another video, I already did that one. But that's what most people know it as. So D minor pentatonic with the blue note added from the D note. This is all tabbed. And I went 1, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, rest. And then it goes to the 4 chord. I play that single line again. 2, 3, 4, rest. Because we're back to the 1. Now it goes to the 5, and I'll go to the 4, but I go. Okay, so in its entirety, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, rest. In this particular blues, there's no 5 in the turnaround, so it just stays on the 1. All right, back after a minor technical difficulty with my track player. Got it pulled up, the right track's in there, slowed it down. We're gonna go over those 3 concepts, and then of course this track and the tab will be available for your consumption, and you'll have a lot of fun. All right, let's talk about it as we play it. Here we go. We'll do the first part up top here with our D6, D9. Here we go. D6, D9, G6, G9, back to D, down to the other inversion set. Here we go. Third finger, first, whatever you want. G6, G9. Same move as up here. You can mix. How about this? 2, ready, play. Chord. 4, 1. And there you have it, right? So we got all of our concepts kind of laid out over that track. I slowed it down about 15% or so. But it really sounds good once you get it cooking, like 3, 4. That kind of stuff. Lots of fun. All right, so what did we learn today? We learned how to do our C6 or D6, D9 comping. We did a little bit of call and response. We learned it in a couple different spots on the guitar. And of course, I have that all transcribed for you, as well as this nice swinging backing track. All right, it's a backing track, that's right. Make you sound good, and you're gonna sound good on it because you've worked so hard on it, right? All right, enough babbling for me. I want you to go practice this stuff. This was a little longer lesson, but definitely pointed at those that are ready for this stuff, I hope. Okay? All right, and if you haven't thought about subscribing to the channel, I wish you would, because I put new lessons out all the time. And if you dig this lesson, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps. And really, subscribing and thumbs up, it really just helps these videos get out there more. The more popular my channel becomes, the more time I can devote to this kind of stuff, create even better transcriptions, have better guests, better demos, better lessons, all that stuff. All right, but we're on a good trajectory, and I'm glad to have you here regardless. So, all right, that's enough for now. I'm Corey. I'll see you next time with a fun lesson, pedal demo, conversation, you name it. All right, thanks for hanging out. I'll see you.